they are unable to pay. I don't know whether you heard of IMPACT, Non-Performing Assets Recovery Trust.
Yeah.
It was in the 80s and 90s.
I did.
Why?
Changed the foundations of
why? Because most banks went bankrupt.
Yeah.
Why did they go bankrupt? Because the monies they lent was not paid back. It's the same thing. We bring down the financial system of a whole lot of banks, and then we have to take the public money. I think about 20 billion to pay back.
Mr. Eneku, we know what and I'll get you to also touch on this because it's very, very crucial. We know what broke the industrial backbone of this nation. We know, right? But how do we wake up from that stupor of continuing to lurk in some dark and think that, you know, by some divine intervention things will be all right? How do we and the hypocrisy for me is one that is unfathomable. Like I cannot comprehend why we're still very hypocritical about our current predicament, as though there's nothing happening. You know, but we are facing some very, you know, heated problems.
Yeah.
But we're not being very open about it. We're not speaking truth to it.
You see, after the fall of the Roman Empire, there was actually Europe didn't exist then. The Roman Empire was on the Mediterranean. But after the fall of the Roman Empire, there was a long period of what they call the Dark Ages for Europe. And there was the bubonic plague, like we are having the pandemic now. It killed millions of Europeans. There was starvation. Why? Because they only have 6 months to cultivate food, etc., etc. But then certain of their people started trying to connect to ancient Greece, the civilization of ancient Greece, and the civilization of the Roman Empire. So the Renaissance started. And I think we need a Renaissance here. We need to think back. Have we done it before? You were talking of industries. Yes, we have had industrialization even in this country before, twice, during Nkrumah's time and during Achampon's time. Can we think back? Can we learn our history? Can we go and recover our confidence and really understand and believe that we can do it for ourselves? Because we are the only ones who can do it for ourselves. The Europeans were here for 400 years. They did nothing for us. Actually, when the British were leaving, we had only 2 factories, a beer factory and a biscuit factory. Everything else that we have had in this country, we have built it ourselves. Can we do it again? And the only way for us to be able to do it again is to go and learn our history, not the miswritten history of our country, but the right history of our country. Understand it. Gain or regain our confidence and believe that we can do it. Because after all, science is science, and we have learnt enough to be able to do it. The only thing is that we should be able to be a bit nationalistic. We should put Ghana first. We should believe that everything is possible for us to be able to do.
How do we bridge that? How do we bridge that big dichotomy between the superstructure and, the very things that ought to work to ensure that the system functions properly? How do we bridge that? And I'm asking this question because it appears that, and from what you're saying, it's very, very axiomatic that it is one of a leadership failure. Because then you look at Nkrumah, he's a phenomenal, an inspirational leader. You look at a Champon, to a very minimal extent, I would say, he's also a very great leader. And within these 2 regimes, we saw an industrial uplift. We saw a deliberate attempt to create a system that will work. But subsequent from that, or from there, and we've carried the people along to a point where now the dependency mentality is not just so much about the political dependency mentality, but a systemic failure dependency mentality, because now we know the thing has failed. Well, let's survive, right? How do we deal with those, fundamental issues that we're facing currently, the young. How do we address it? That's my problem, really.
I think there's a proverb in Akan called Sankofa. I mean, it is no shame if we know that we are not making it, for us to look back, go and pick the good things, and try to use it to make us move. Let's be very frank. When you talk of some of the problems we have today, it is not new. There are no new problems. The problem of poverty, the problem of healthcare, the problem of lack of access to education, the problem of lack of infrastructure. There were problems 50, 60, 70 years ago. There was an attempt to solve it. At a certain time, we stopped. We went right dead. I mean, we didn't invest anymore. Can we do some investment in our country? If we did invest in our country, can we put people to work, especially the young people? Why? Because the young people have got the strength, fiscal strength, and they have the intellectual power. And so if you put them to work, they can create wealth. And it's only through production that you can create wealth for there to be enough, a surplus for our standard of living to go higher.
Has multi-party democracy failed us? Has it failed? And then let's be very factual about this. Let's be very as open and as transparent and as truthful as we can be. Do you think that multi-party democracy has failed us because of the kind of, attending problems that it brought in its wake? And let's not even, be hypocritical about it. The truth is, and I'm asking this question because we know what it is, that has multi-party democracy affected the trajectory of growth in this nation? Because all the regimes that you're referring to, yes, Nkrumah's regime, people say it was blah, 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 but we know what he was trying to build, right? And the Champon, we know what it was. I mean, a military leader, These two regimes have worked. Albeit that we've had other military regimes that have failed. If you look at, under PNDC, etc., all those ones, but beyond the leadership qualities that one must have, right? Do you also think that multi-party democracy is not good for Ghanaians at this material stage?
Well, because I'm a historian, I always look at it from the historical reality. And multi-party democracy is now, it's not the first time we are not having multi-party democracy for the first time. We had multi-party democracy in the 50s, a certain part of the 60s before the opposition party itself legislated itself, or no, I mean, subverted itself out of existence. And so if you look at that, and if you look at the multi-party system, and during those multi-party system, we had a 5-year development plan.
Absolutely.
Of the 50s. We built some impressive infrastructural projects like the Adomi Bridge, the Tefle Bridge, and others. You understand? Albeit it was driven by the main party which was getting into power. Of course, you see, the whole political system also depends on interest, political interests. What are the political interests? How modern is the ideology of these political groupings? The political groupings in the 50s who were opposed to Nkrumah wanted a federal state. They wanted the feudal state which was in existence with colonialism to be entrenched, etc., albeit on tribalism, because they created parties which were based on tribes. And interestingly enough, that was discriminatory.
But this is discriminatory.
No, that was discriminatory because the Gan Shipon, because I'm not a Gan, couldn't have joined. The Northern People's Party, because I'm not from the North, I can't join. The National Liberation Movement, because I'm not Ashanti, I can't join. But then there was an alternative party where everybody could join. Again, the next multi-party we experimented with.
So what fault did you find in that system then? I mean, Because you are trying
but we tried to cure it with the Avoidance of Discrimination Act,
right,
which forced all these sectorial parties,
organization, yeah.
the Muslim Association Party. If I'm not a Muslim, I can't be a member.
But you are Ghanaian.
I'm Ghanaian. You understand? And so we forced them, when we got independence, we forced them with the Avoidance of Discrimination Act to come together, and they formed the United Party. But because they were anachronistic in their thinking, and they could not win by the ballot because they were not open to the people, they tried to use force, bombs, etc. They succeeded in 1966. And then they had to bring multi-party. And their multi-party was dysfunctional in the first place because Article 71 of the 1969 Constitution legislated a whole number of people who had been associated either with the CPP, the trade unions, the United Ghana Farmers Council, or whatever. They were banned for 15 years from taking part in political or civil life in this our country. So straight away, the multi-party system was still born. You understand? We tried it again in the Third Republic, and it was not giving time to work. Now we have tried it in since 1992, and the fault I see with our multi-party system is the extreme partisanship. Everything is thought of in a parochial,
it's so annoying.
In parochial and partisan manner.
It's so annoying.
We are not scientific in our analysis of things. We are not open to various ideas to critique it in order to choose that which will help us. As soon as a proposal is put down, is this proposal left or right? We have become two-dimensional. We have become two-dimensional in our way of thinking and too partisan in our way of thinking to enable development, movement to go. And when movement, there's no motion, there's sterility, and we become dead. And that is what's happening in our country.
How do we surmount this?
I
get emotional. I'm not going to sit here and lie, because I represent, I see myself as the youth leader of this nation, really, because I represent a lot of Ghanaian young people who are very endearing, but are not given the opportunity to shine, right?
Yeah.
And so once we get the opportunity, we need to advance a cause that will, be directed at helping them get to a certain point. And we cannot do that if we are not being very, very open about it. Which is why I'm asking this question: how do we surmount this? How do we deal with this fundamental issue? You have stated that, of course, you're very smart at that, without admitting that multi-party democracy caused, most of the challenges, and it's still our woes, really.
But it opens the political space.
Clearly, I mean, nobody is discounting that. But if you look at how China was, for instance, built, even America for a long time, so it begs the question as to whether or not we are at a stage where, of course, this conversation cannot really, but we are at a stage where we need to really look, perhaps, at our political structure and see if we can redefine it, because it's not working, and that which is not working must change.
Yeah.
Why do people get into, the first question is that, Mr. Enekwe, and I want you to answer this again, why do people even get into politics in the first place now in this 21st century?
Well, I think that
the only way I'm coming to you, so
most people are getting into politics because that is the only avenue for them to be able to make it.
What created that?
Yeah, but you see that you made mention of the fact that you are getting emotional, and I want to caution that we need not get emotional. We can be passionate about our country.
Well, emotionally
we can
passionate.
be passionate about the development of our country.
Emotionally
for
passionate.
Things to get right.
Yeah.
Because as soon as you get emotional, your clear analysis of the situation becomes clouded in an unscientific thing.
Yeah, but what is precipitating the emotions is because I feel like we know the problems, but there's nothing we can do.
I say it's rather, that's why you should be passionate about making sure that the country
I'm emotionally passionate about it.
but I still believe that, I ideologically believe that there should be an alternative to this new liberal market. That this market that we have created, especially since 1982, we did create it in 66, and we have recreated it since 1982, is not delivering. And once it is not delivering, we need to look for an alternative. And that's why we are saying that what other alternative models of development exist that we can go for? And having alternative models of development does not necessarily mean that the political system in itself should be destroyed. Yeah. You understand? People should start having a rethink. Let's be very frank. Let's look at our country since 1982. What has worked? And what has not worked? Let's sit down and analyze it. And let's look at our history. I think 6th of March will be our Independence Day. And see whether we did certain things during our history which worked. You were talking about agriculture, and you were talking of subsistence, and the fact that you have to have a lot of money. Did we try to invest in plantation agriculture at a certain time in our life? Did we try to bring mechanization, agri-mechanization, having mechanization centers where even the subsistence farmer could go and hire at a cheaper unit cost? Yes, we did. Have other countries done it before? Did other countries come and study us? Yes, Malaysia came to study the example of Kwamosu. Of course, Malaysia has stability. They had a one-party state.
Absolutely, that's the point I'm making.
Lee Kuan Yew, we have been touting and screaming about, was in power for over 30 years.
Absolutely, building the structure.
With a one-party state. Yeah. Even South Korea, where the military came into power after assassinating another military leader, they maintained the same economic system. They did not change the economic system. They didn't say that, oh, a 7-year development plan was by Kwame Nkrumah, and so after 66 we won't do it again. They didn't say that, oh, motorway has reached Accra Mall area there, so we won't continue. They didn't identify development with individuals. They identify development as a collective whole, something by the society and for the society. So that it does not matter, like the Chinese leader said, that it does not matter whether the cat is white or the cat is black, so long as it can catch mice, we will use the cat. Did we do that? No. No, not at all.
Right. Well, you're watching the newspaper review segment. We just created a topic that we believe will be for the development of this nation: how to rebuild Ghana, because we believe that Ghana needs some rebuilding. Biawaribe is also here, but Biawaribe, oftentimes when we begin to talk about the past, right, and what Nkrumah stood for and what he did, his development plan, etc., people say, oh, but it belongs to the past. But we must know that the future is built on the stills of the past, right? And we necessarily must draw some useful lessons from the past to inform the present and to, be able to project into the future. Now, if you look at the political trajectory of this nation, beyond the successes of Osaju Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, right? One can safely assume that Kufuor came into power and tried to re-engineer the wheels of growth, right? Of course, I know about J.J. Wallace, etc., but I'm not particularly impressed by his diversity implementation project, etc., because that broke the industrial backbone of this nation, in my opinion. Now, there was an economic recovery program that was intended to ameliorate the challenges of the average Ghanaian. You do recall that gave birth to the African peer review mechanism, where, in the words of Mr. Eneku, you recall that, we're going to alleviate poverty, we're going to ensure that agriculture is improved, we're going to make sure that, we build affordable homes and things like that. That did not see the light of day. Now, it brings this question to mind, that is it the case that we thrive on the challenges of the people to win power, but after we have power, we don't concern ourselves so much with the needs of the people. We concern ourselves so much with the needs of our pockets. Is that the case? And how will young people be able to get ourselves off this shackle of, impoverishment?
Yes, I have some few disagreements with you with some aspects of your history when we refer to Kufuor's era and then that of the Rawlings' era. But we will come to the details of it when we begin analyzing.
No politicization. I said in my opinion.
Very well. I agree with you. I'm saying that I would deal with some parts of it. You see, when you are trying to tackle a problem and you don't identify the root cause of the problem, then you are not in a good position to be able to get a perfect solution for it. Our people say that if you refuse to drink from the well of experience, you will die of thirst in the desert of ignorance. So it is to our African society, and especially our Ghanaian society. One, we came out from a system, and that system that we used to have was a cultural superiority. A cultural superiority said that a group of people would decide to go and attack another set of people, to capture land, have control over them, and to feel some level of superiority over them. So before even we were so-called colonized, we had our own traditional colonizers, whereby by the forces of what was happening, one ethnic group will go and subdue another ethnic group, take control over them, and treat them as their second fiddle to them and be under their control. And this was made even worse with the introduction or with the coming in of the Europeans, whereby superior weapons were now procured, and those who had access to the Europeans and could procure the said superior weapons or barter with them, they use it to go and attack another set of people. So through that, we created some individual tribal nation states. And those individual tribal nation states created some dislike for each other. And it was difficult for the two to unite. So you get a situation whereby one ethnic group will think that for us, we don't even marry from this other ethnic group. That means that integration between them becomes a problem. And they look at each other with some level of suspicion. It is in the spirit of this that when we gain the independence, and I can tell you that the colonial administration decided to feed on this in a divide and rule tactic. To the extent that certain group of people somewhere were not given the opportunity as prevailing in another part. Call it apartheid in one way or the other. Because look, it was a crime in our part of the country that I come from, the north, for somebody to get a higher education apart from standard 7. And when even they were taken to the southern part, they didn't want them to see the beautiful structures as at that time which were existing in the southern part. So they will even cover the cars that they were using. They will bring them straight to Achimota, and when it was a forest then, and when they are out of the Achimota, they will take them out of that place and ship them back. Because if they get the feel of how their southern counterparts are having some access to certain things, they will go and possibly incite their colleagues from the north. And by so doing, they needed some hardcore labor to work the mines and the plantations in the southern part. And that's why you even see some people having some kind of situation whereby the hewers of wood and the drawers of water were usually a labor force coming from the northern part of the country. And that is the beginning of some of the zongos that you saw in some of the plantation towns and the mining towns and all the other areas. This created a pool of a labor force doing the menial jobs that people who consider themselves as now being a little bit enlightened are not able to do. So Nkrumah saw this a perfect opportunity to unite the country through a certain basic fabric of bringing everybody together and try to build the nation Ghana. And when you have such a divided or polarized system in the past, and you inherit it, and you are not able to sustain that system for a long time, so that 1 or 2 generations will now come to realize that, look, if I see my uncle Henaku, I just regard him as Henaku, but I don't see him as either belonging to my tribe or belonging to my clan, and therefore I see the best out of him as the only value through which I will cherish, and for that matter, use him for that value that I will cherish. So this became part of the system, but unfortunately, that system that Nkrumah was trying to build was cut short by the kind of system that we had as at that time. Be as it is, that is from the cultural perspective, and the educational sector, which ought to orient us, did not also help in one way or the other. Why? Because we're now going into the system whereby the Western colonizers who came and colonized us, they wanted to use our people for their purpose. So they gave them a type of orientation and education which they saw the Western style as being superior to that of the cultural style that we have in our country. So you know that a great number of us, even up to date, we are educated, but we are only educated in how best we can fluently speak English. We are only educated on things which are happening in the environment which are alien to us, but we are not educated with our own domestic environment. And that's why even our scientists find it a problem. Why? Because, look, from basic school, the environment through which they are educating themselves, they don't have a full grasp of the environment. And if you're not able to understand the problem of the environment, then you can't think through out of the box to be able to create the solution to the problem within the environment that you are coming from. Look, I am a typical rural person who walked barefooted to school. And we went and they taught us things which invariably did not exist in our local environment. Look, we learned names of plants which were not in our environment. We learned names of animals which were not in our environment. Meanwhile, on daily basis, we interacted with the natural environment in the rural area, to which we don't know the names of the said plants. And we don't identify their value within the said environment. Meanwhile, our fathers and forefathers are harvesting these plants, using them for medicinal purposes on the cloak of being a Muslim or a Christian or now an educated person. You thought that that was a system which was not befitting your standard, and therefore you are alienated from that system. You didn't learn out of it and grow out of it to be able to improve on it for the betterment of your own system. So when ailments are found within your own environment, why? You will depend on what has been produced somewhere in China. You depend on what has been produced somewhere in India. You depend on what has been produced in Germany or UK or US to be able to cure you. Meanwhile, if we had learned the system properly, we could have adapted and applied it here. We go through that to the necessary universities and to various higher institutions. So you get our professors, you get our engineers, you get our doctors. Look, they learned the art in the Western style, and that is the type that they know and they understand best. They are not able to learn and adapt and adjust it to our local environment, and therefore the ability to create the innovation is not there, and that makes us much more Western educated, who are actually strangers within our own environment and cannot adapt our system of education to our own environment. Right. And the other part that came out of it is the issue of nationality and dedication to our national cause. If you check the days that almost everybody is glorifying, the days of Kwame Nkrumah and the rest, you get public servants who retire on basically nothing, but they've dedicated themselves to the service of the country with all their heart and with all their mind. But you look back and you realize that, look, this is not a lifestyle worth living. And for that matter, a young person coming, having seen the good lifestyles and what others are doing, would like to cut corners. Because the system which was there, and indeed the people that you want to emulate, he is not happy with the lifestyle that they have lived. So you ask yourself, did we let the people who sacrifice their lives and time for the country Ghana, and if indeed we let them down, do we think that the young population which is coming will be happy with regards to that? They will not be happy. And this is creating that avenue that we are seeing. Again, the politics that we have played. You see, check the history of Ghana. The early politicians and many other people were people who were having links to the chieftaincy institution. And the chieftaincy institution that we had is a class institution. So we created a breed of politicians who saw it as part of the chieftaincy transition, no more in the family clan, but a class making. And by making it as a class means that they must maintain the status quo. How do they maintain the status quo? By getting people subjugated, by getting people not having access to certain resources, and for that matter, there can be that top-down approach in handing over the largesse. And this is also another part of the problem that we have. And you see, we are quite happy to hand over our natural resource to a third party and be fighting over trifles. Uncle Kosipra has always been saying it. Look at the resources that we have as a country. What is the percentage that we are getting? With all the minings which we've been getting, who is taking the chunk? The elephant share. We are not concerned about who is taking the elephant share. What we are concerned is the little that we are even getting, and go ahead to even mismanage the very little that we are getting. And this is also another huge problem for us. Can we now think through to make sure that we maximize the resources that we have? Just a few days ago, a minister in charge of railways was asked, what is the average cost of a kilometer of railway line? He said between $5 million to $7 million. What exactly constitutes a railway line or a track? Is it the chippings that we don't have in Ghana? Is it the wood that we don't have? Is it the iron ore deposit that we don't have? Is it the steel that we can produce? Is it the bauxite that we can have? Is it the coal that we can't have? We don't have. So what exactly? Why must a railway line even cost $5 to $7 million when we have that of an asphalt road costing about $1 to $2 million? Why? Why must it be more?
You should answer that.
So the question that comes, and who comes, is that we are not ready to invest in our own. Can we say that, look, we want to build a railway line, but this railway line we are coming to build, we must dedicate the bauxite mining, dedicate the iron ore deposit at Sheni, extract it, use it to build the infrastructure, and push it out there. This is what we should be doing. Can we say that we will try to make the basic mistakes, but we want our nationals to make the basic mistakes, so that we will learn from that those mistakes and improve on it? Why won't it be? Why should the government be happy to take money resource of Ghana, which was granted to a Ghanaian, happy to take it up and give it to Chinese, who will come and mine at a certain barter trading system? Why? It means that we are even doing injustice to our own selves. We are not ready to make sure that we develop our own selves using our own resources, and that kind of hatred creates the bad blood between
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful submission, right? But that has not addressed my question. I spoke to you earlier about, of course, I mean, Mr. Henneku, together with yourself, you've all identified what the challenges are. And there's no gainsaying that. In fact, there's no belaboring of that argument. We all do know what the challenges are. But the issue has got to do with our current predicament and how we're going to learn from the previous experiences in order that we can advance a certain cause that will be beneficial to the current generation and the next. Which is why I asked you the very fundamental question: how do we do that? Because it's clear that and Mr. Hemeku puts it very succinctly. He says the over-politicization, partisanship of all our issues, perhaps, is what has brought us here. So how do we deal with that particular issue, particularly as young people of this nation? Because you are a student of history, you know the sacrifices that were made by the likes of Kwame Nkrumah and all the young people who at the time wanted to break away from the chains of colonial, etc. How do we learn from that experience and change our own circumstances? Because what we are facing today is not significantly different from that which were faced by our people. The only difference is that they were hungry for change. Are we hungry for change? Not political change necessarily, but a certain change that will fundamentally break the roots of our inconsistencies, which has brought us here.
We are not ready. And you have identified part of the problem, which you said over politicization. The question is, at what point did you say this politicization is normal, but this one is over? That is something that we must come to. The reality is this, that because we don't have a dedicated national core of people who are ready to sacrifice for the country, when they get political positions, they want to build personal empires and political empires or family empires. And it has even been made worse to the extent that when you occupy a political position and you go out of office, your own opponent will come and tell you that, what did you do for your own people? As if when you were in that position, it was the position for your own. So when you now get to that position, others closer to you will remind you of the fact that power is transient, and very soon you go out of it and you'll be asked what you did for them, and for that matter, you will do it. And that is corruption in a certain form. Because meritocracy is lost. Can we bring back meritocracy? Yes. What do we need to bring back meritocracy? We need a leadership which is ready to say that I don't care, even if I get 4 years, I am willing and ready to do what is right. I don't care whether the cat is black or the cat is white. Wherever I can get that cat to do that, I should be able to do that. And people, when put in those positions, should demonstrate that they are not going to pick people and recruit people on the basis of their partisan affiliations. Why? We are seeing that now most of the security services and many other institutions of state, they don't get the adverts again. When even they do it on the face of it. At the end of the day, they pick people from various areas using party structures to send names through a certain route before I realize people are there. The issue of meritocracy is lost. And you can't build a nation without meritocracy. You can't build a nation without a dedicated cadre corps who are into leadership positions. You can't build a nation when you have people who actually think more of their stomach and their children's future than the generality of the people. You can't build a nation when you have a certain type of family trying to hijack every part of the country.
Yeah.
This is part of the issue.
Yeah.
So I don't see it as a creation of our constitution, as people want to say. No. If you read the directive principles of state policy in our constitution, it's more like a national manifesto for everybody. Whether you are CPP, you are PNC, you are MPDC, whatever. That is like a national manifesto. The issue is, are we having a lot of pressure to force political actors to see that they don't abandon a hospital which has been started and the people's resources which has been used for the purpose of constructing that hospital, and for him to finish it before he goes to another place? We don't. Many a times, we sit and then we politicians will come and tell the people that will give you a fair share of the national cake. The one who has got the cake is the one dividing it, and he comes to stand in your face to tell you that, look, this is your share, and the share that I've given you is fair.
How do you determine?
How do you determine? Let me be part of the sharing. Let me know what is the size of the cake, so that I know the proportion of what I'm getting is fair to me. If we don't have that system, then I can tell you that no matter who is at the top, they will come and then they will not be able to tell us the truth. Beautiful. Because at the end of the day, he will give 70% to his family and the family has got a fair share of it. Once you are actually getting 0.0001%, that's your fair and I'll come and tell you that that's your fair share. Brilliant. Because there's no determined criteria for determining what the fair share should be.
In as much as I agree with you on that, quick one. The discussion about ensuring that if you want to be able to be part of the decision making, you must have a seat at the table of decision makers, right? The young people that we have in this country, a lot of them have been given that opportunity. Now, one would have thought that for young politicians who have been given that opportunity to be able to make themselves count and to also serve as an example for young people who want to aspire to do greater things, they would have excelled in that field. But what do we see? Life of affluence, not being involved in youth conversations, not being particular about the plight of the young people. They don't care. And we know them, we see them. All these young politicians will be given the opportunity, right, to make themselves count and to stand as the torch bearers who will open the door for others to go through, are the ones who are blocking the doors now, are the ones who are not allowing for people to be very expressive about their plight. They are not articulating the concerns of the people. Now, that for me is also a challenge. That for me is a challenge because we cannot say that we've not been given an opportunity. In fact, Johnny Vasatamios, may his blessed soul find rest in the bosom of God. He gave bigger opportunity. In fact, it started from Kofo's time, Kwame Nkrumah's time, where young people were given the opportunity to shine. But currently, we've also seen that young people have been given the opportunity to be ministers, to be deputy ministers, to be members of parliament, to be able to articulate the concerns of people, but they are not doing that.
You see, and for me, you see, when you look at it, you are looking at the symptoms and not the cause.
Okay.
What is the standard given to them? Because the current standard that we, the young people, who are not even in positions of power, is resource standard. The bigger your pocket, the best you are. And if you can dole out, that determines how you will be loved. No one measures, and that goes even into the cause. It goes into the churches and our religious bodies. It permeates every aspect of. That's why you see Sakawa on the rise. That's why you see betting on the rise. That's why you see that indeed the necessary drug trafficking is on the rise. Because we are looking at affluence as the only standard. Like Bob Marley said, some people are so poor to the extent that it's only money that they have. But that is the poverty that we have visited on our own selves. And that is what is creating the situation.
Thank you.
So on the basis of this, I think that when you don't get our priorities right and set the basic standards, obviously you can't get it to be different. We are a reflection of our leaders by virtue of the fact that we look up to them of a certain class and to do certain things when you know that they are not. Why? It would be a shame if indeed somebody is a minister and the person is not having a V8. You consider the person as a failure.
Of course.
But it's riding in a V8.
Absolutely.
It's riding in a V8. The standard for which the person must be measured.
Yeah.
So if he rides in a V8, at the end of the day, his home village or in the other villages who drink water with cattle, and the cost of that V8 to have been able to get at least 10, 15, 20 boreholes, and that V8 is not bought with the person's own resource, but the resource of that state, and the cost of fueling and operational maintenance of that V8 is enough to actually build several health facilities for people to benefit. That it means that we should question ourselves as to the type of standard we are setting for our own selves. So when you look at him of that standard, when he's not having it, then he's not a non-performer. But when you don't give that standard to him, and make sure that the standard you are giving is to the benefit of the people, then that is when you actually measure him properly and then give him the vote or not. This is the reality of the day. And we must have that kind of change in orientation and get the basic standards right. Are we measuring our own selves? Look, Alan Chimantin came. The beautiful statement of the MPP was to build one district, one factory. That statement is even having some issues. But as it is, he came and justified it not too long ago. And he praised himself for that. Do you know how he praised himself? That look, there were about 60 existing factories that they supported. And now the operational factories are start today After 4 years, it's about 76. So it means that technically new factories which have come on board are not up to 10. That is the reality. The rest are ongoing. And like usual, when a politician tells that 300 of them are ongoing, there are different stages of completion. Massa, you and I understand the palace more than any other thing. It will continue to be ongoing for the next 30, 40 years. That is the reality of the day. Right. We are dealing with what has been delivered in 4 years. Right. Means that less than 10. And what is the capacity of the 10? They are not high standard factories. There's like medium standard factories. Right. So at the end of the day, when the promises were being made, we are going to build a factory. Did we say it was a Kukuli factory or a Kose factory or a Wache factory? We didn't question that enough. And that is creating the certain standards that we are looking. So at the end of the day, if you can't tell that I built a factory, because you didn't get the standards right, you can't get him to do. And for me, being a peasant farmer's child and knowing from where I come from, the situation where we are even looking at for large plantations is even a misdirection. And when we say we are going to mechanize agriculture, and for that matter, we are going to buy huge tractors, that is a misdirection. Our main focus should be the little that we will do to make sure that when the peasant farmer who can only farm 3 acres or 1 acre, the 1 acre that he is having, he should be able to get the maximum produce from the 1 acre. That is what we should be looking at. We should be able to get that 1 acre, he can concentrate on it, do it intensively, get the profit out of tilling the 1 acre of land. And when he tills the 1 acre of land, there should be some kind of small equipment that can process whatever he has got to make value for him. So that we have small value addition along our value chain. At the end of the day, it becomes a bigger platform. This is what we should be doing and heading towards.
Beautiful. So, in the final analysis, what you're saying is that we are all part of the problems. I couldn't agree with you more. I know Mr. Edoku wants to say something, but let me also welcome Mujibi to the studios. Mujibi is here. Good morning to you, my boss, and I trust you're doing very well. We're having a very dispassionate conversation about Ghana, but let me read a few messages that have been sent through by our viewers. The question has been asked: how do we rebuild Ghana? If you're looking for sensationalism, I'm sorry, this is not a TV channel for you. We don't engage ourselves. We don't engage ourselves in sensationalism. No. Anyway, so let me just read a few messages here from our viewers on Facebook. Now, Abubakar Sadiq is concerned about our signal. That the signal has been off in Sakumono for some few days now. Yes, we're undertaking some maintenance work with our service provider, and I think that it should be done by close of business, I'm sure, very, very sure. Honorable Abedi Kwada, so you're sending a different message. I'll read it later on. Henry Anderson is watching us from Berlin. He says, good morning to all of you. Mohammed Abdul Karim says, good morning, my beloved elders, nation builders, future planners of a great Pan-African. May Allah increase you in knowledge for us to learn from you. Thank you. Sally Sue, well, you're talking about the president. We'll get there. Abdul M. Sadiq says, I am Abdul, watching us from California as well. Tijani Amigo says, every leader wants to bring his way of governance so that he can have his way of stealing. He doesn't look at whether the government is in the right direction or otherwise. Thank you. Musa Abatwa says, criticisms are part of democracy and good governance. So, while my judicial service, okay, I'll read your message, I promise. KOD, we can build on the past in 2 ways: improving upon the socio-economic legacy and having zero tolerance for corruption, nepotism, and ethnocentric tendencies. This one is from Antuose, and I couldn't agree with him. Or maybe we'll touch on that again before we move to the next topic. It's very crucial. So let's try and look at what he's saying, corruption, etc. I think Mr. Eneku touched on it briefly, but we have to delve into it. Charles Thompson says, we are not moving forward as a nation simply because critical and analytical thinkers have been sidelined by self-centered and greedy politicians. That's what he's saying. Wumbe Anthony says, good morning to you, Kerry. Thanks for your wonderful work. Please, I need your number. This is mine. Okay. I will call you after the show so we can talk. Alhaji Mustafa says, watching you live from Monrovia. KOD, you are doing a wonderful job for Mother Ghana. Mawu Neyirao. Thank you very much, sir. Wumbe says, KOD, I need your number, please. This is mine. Okay, I'll give you my number later on. Dela Abdallah says, wow, KOD, I really commend the guy in the white for his contribution. These are the kind of people we want in our society to educate and change the mindset of the Ghanaian people. This one says, Dela Abdallah says, Ghana stopped working the day Dr. Nkrumah was toppled. Is it arguable or is it a fact? Ryan Stewart says, you are off air from digital platform. Yes, we are undertaking. I'm sure we should be back now. Ask them for me. I'm sure we should be back on by now. Politics has been polarized in our beloved country to the extent it's hindering progress in our country. I agree with you. This is what happens when kakistocratic officials run the system. What the guy said is really, really the truth. My opinion is, if we want to change this situation, we need to criticize every corrupt leader without mercy. That's one thing I like about Cheney Jones. MT Kuta says, the list of obstacles drowning the nation as outlined by the gentleman should not be overlooked at all. Good morning, Pan-African TV. Watching you live from European capital, Belgium. Ghana is sinking under this greedy government. Greetings to the foot soldiers of the Supreme Court. My brother, let's be very circumspect. Leaders need to be judged on ability to perform their duties. Idolatry leaders to sectorial violence. You should know that, my brother. Thank you. This one says, as a nation, we cannot remain focused superficially on matters that have little or no bearing at all on the actual steps needed for the deliverance of the nation. Ghana is on a great path by increasing input and believing in the constitution. Ghana can lead. Isaac K. Boyson says, can NC Holland MP? I don't know what. Kirsten Bestnap says he's watching us live from the New York City. This one also says, Pan-African TV is the most credible station of the moment. Thank you. Ken G sent in this one. Sadat Mashu says, the only way to build Ghana is to get a merciless leader who kills any corrupt leader. Okay, to set an example for others.
I've done that before.
Contour Paul says, KLD, I just love you and wish to have your number. Watching live from Lebanon. Thank you, Contour Paul. Let's chat after the morning show. You can send me a message on my Facebook page, which is Kwame Usuda, so now be able to respond that with immediacy. I'm watching you live from Abetifi. Keep up the good job. Thank you, Francis Estelle. Juliana Belinda says, good morning to you all. Juliana, thank you. Philemon says, KOD, we can build and make this nation a great one to move forward by avoiding corruption, and we must speak truth to power. That's all. Thank you very kindly for your message. Habib Abdullah says, dear panelists, the problem with our country is lack of accountability and lack of proper management. Ghana is richer than most European countries, but yet they are doing better than us. The question is why? And the question is why, Mujib? Yes, sir.
Good morning.
Yeah.
Yeah. Your topic is very, very is in place, and I love it when I say how do we
if people need
that?
sensationalism, they should go to another time.
It's very that is why Pan Africa is unique,
Yeah.
and I can see yourself from the messages.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Kwame, and I agree with my brother on some of the points he raised. Kwame, I think we still have an opportunity that we can rebuild Ghana and pushing Ghana well to the benefit of Ghanaians and our brothers outside Ghana, Africa. Kwame, I think that it is true we're doing well somewhere in the 50s, 60s, up to 70s, but it's like from the 90s onwards we have slept. And I think that we need to pause and then reflect where we are coming from, where we are now. Are we still on course? That is why I found your topic very appropriate this morning. Kwame, there are basic issues that we have not taken seriously or we have overlooked. That is causing us where we are now. Kwame, the only point I disagree with my brother is our constitution is fine, but we have to relook at the constitution, the national constitution. I think that to a large extent it's also part of the problem. But Kwame, accountability is very, very important. And what I also found is that the youth of Ghana today, we are not angry enough to hold leaders accountable. That is why it's also part of the problem. Kwame, I said the constitution because the laws that frown upon corruption and misappropriation of public funds are not draconian enough in our statute books that will always send a fear or a signal to a public officer that if I misappropriate or I involve corruption and it's proving true then I am going to be hanged, or I am going to life imprisonment, or I will not see my children. Those countries that are doing it, like the Singapore and the Malaysia, it isn't that they are stopping. It is because they want to move from a point A to point B. That is why they are doing it. And they are making progress. The per capita income, the living standards of the people in those countries today far, far, far outweigh what we are experiencing in Ghana today. But Kwame, having said that, let's look at the tenor of our office. I, to some extent, always tell my friends that I am not a complete believer of our current democratic system that we are experiencing. Kwame, winner takes all. Let's look at that one too. That is, I agree with him when he emphasized on the issue of meritocracy. Right. Kwame, it is very important. Even in recent times under Kufuor, you know the almighty Parko Sindum. Yes. You know Parko Sindum is coming from the Nkrumah, is an Nkrumahite. But because of his expertise, because of his knowledge, he was brought into President Kufuor government, and you and I can attest to the fact. Is it public commission something, Minister of Energy and thereabout, and his contribution to the development of this country at that time. We can't we can't say he hasn't done. He has done a lot. But Kwame, today, if you don't belong to party A or B, you can be a professor and everything. But the fact that your party is not in government, even your opinions doesn't matter.
That's the danger.
But the point, we are getting it wrong, because any leader interest is to get your state developed. So the fact that I am sitting in my house and I don't belong to party A doesn't mean I can't contribute to national discourse or progress of my nation. And that we have lost it. Or they say, oh, me if you know, or no operation. So what? Is the knowledge also an operation knowledge? I hope you are getting. So we have lost it, but it's basic. But Kwame, I think that let's go back. For those who are around 60 years and above, I think that we have to let them go, because they have no much to contribute to rebuild the Ghana you and I want. But we can go back, Kwame, right from the infancy. We need to look at our education curriculum. Even we, the citizens, we don't love our country. Yeah. Kwame, you see somebody, a foreigner, stealing your country, and you're happy and clapping for the person. Even when they come, this girl, I'm saying, who are those doing it? We don't have their mind, the resources. It is the foreigners that come with the resources, and we lead them, and they are causing the distractions.
Can I explain to you why?
No.
And I don't hold this to be true.
Yeah.
But the reality is also that the system frustrates you, such that it takes away the joy that you have for the nation.
Yeah.
And he will attest to it. For instance, people who are trying to get into Makola and things like that.
I agree with you perfectly. I agree with you. I was coming there. They're so frustrated that they don't have the nation at hand. I was coming there. Yeah. I was coming there. And that is true. Because look, man must survive. It's a natural law. Whether the right way or the wrong way, if you fail as a nation to put the proper structures in place, then people will divide, overlook the law and do what they want to do, because this is the country they all belong to. But Kwame, it all boils down to the basic things. Kwame, I find one thing very, very important that we have lost. But we think we are smart. Nobody checks anybody. Nobody checks anybody. Kwame, today as you are sitting, the end justify the means. How you become successful or rich overnight.
Depends on
society
you.
will clap for you. But they are not bothered to go and find out. We know Kwame within 2-3 years. Why is it that Kwame is putting up such a building and he's driving this car? Let us go. It is the responsibility of the state. And the state has the power. Why is it that when you go outside this country, Kwame, people live in a very normal strata, in a very fair strata. But it is true that Kwame, Ghana now we are living in a class society. Yeah. Kwame, you see the bourgeoisie, you see now even the politicians, who are supposed to be serving the people, are now the rich men in this country. And we, the youth, we are not angry enough. We are not angry enough because the partisan overpolarization has bondage, has blind us. To the extent that we even see the realities, but we can't act. Is that not, my brother? So at a point, I felt that no, the nationalistic point of view is what we should be looking at. Leave the political lines. Kwame, if today there's a railway line from Accra, the northern part of the country, I am happy.
I'll live in
Tamale and work in
Accra.
Accra.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter whether it's Nkrumah's, whether it's NDC or MPP. It is the development of the country. Today, if there's a dual carriage, 6 lane here, from Accra to Kumasi to the northern sector, it's to the benefit. You and I will enjoy it. And that is how people should live. That is how we should be living. Come today, you go through Accra, you travel, you see poverty, and you ask yourself, I have traveled to Takoradi, around the Asankrigwa area. And I ask myself whether right after independence, Kwame, this is a cocoa rubber producing area. Kwame, the car starts 4 or 5 hours, we can remove the car. I'm saying, look, we had to sleep there. And I said, wow, and this is what we are doing to ourselves. Kwame, you come to Accra or the bigger cities, a single person wants to own the whole country. Why? Where are you going with it? Are we more sensible and more intelligent even than the Europeans, the people who colonize us? Today you go to UK, Germany, a doctor, a teacher, a nurse, a cleaner, they are all staying in the same building, apartments. You come here, it's a class society. So now it is clear when you mention East Lagos, you know those class of people who are staying there. I'm saying, we are treading on a dangerous portion. At a point, the people will divide and they'll come after the bourgeoisie, and this country, they'll crumble it. So until we wake up and make sure the laws work and make sure we put the right things in place, Kwame, I think that the future is not bright for this country. But I think that all is not.
I'm
still change. We can still change a lot of things.
Yeah. Mujib, thank you. Mr. Eneku, I was going to definitely go for round 2 because this is a topic that is.
Even use the whole day for this topic. Yeah. Good, because it's passionate. When you are discussing the future of your country, you do it.
I wanted to make 2 comments. Okay. One, Mujib tried to rule a section of Ghanaians out in the reconstruction of our country.
When they are the people failing that?
By saying,
I'm saying,
because we can
it's not of that bracket.
But the truth.
You have done your part.
You did that deliberately.
But the truth of the matter is that a whole lot of the youth are on the rich bandwagon.
Yeah.
That he's talking about. That class. I mean, the youth are not monolithic. They are different. I mean, you have youth who are working hard. You have youth who are stealing. And you have youth who are undermining our country.
Absolutely.
So that's the comment I wanted to make on Mujib. Please, your name.
Be aware.
Yeah. What I wanted to expand on his thing, which for me, one of his things which was interesting, was what he said the railway man said. About the cost of the railway. I wanted to say that when we're building the motorway and some of the factories, we didn't have a cement factory. We didn't have a steel factory. We didn't have a concrete factory like, concrete, Africa concrete at Carnation. Yes. But we built them in order to supply the raw materials to build the motorway, in order to supply the raw materials. So yes, for the railway to be cheap, or the rail line to be cheap, the steel factory must start utilizing the deposit in Sheni and in Opomanso, so that it can produce the raw materials for it. For the road, what do we use for the road?
The coal?
The bitumen? The bitumen. Tema Oil Refinery should be working. Because when Tema Oil Refinery was working, it was bringing out bitumen, one of the byproducts of a fraction of the oil. Apart from kerosene, apart from gas and whatnot, is bitumen. So that if it was working, the bitumen which will be provided for our roads will bring considerably the cost of the road eventually down. And we can build more roads. We can build more railways. So it is a value chain.
Look.
It's a value chain, the planning, all these kind of tools that we need to use. But again, I want to emphasize that I would not say over-politicization. I would say partisanship. Because, like I was illustrating, Akosombo Dam is not for Kwame Nkrumah. He didn't use his resources. Bui Dam is not for Kwame Nkrumah. It's not for Kufuor. He didn't use his resources. So it is not enough for one to come and say that, oh, a hospital is being built, and so I have come. Forget it.
Is it not a residue of the divide and rule strategy, for instance, now? Because then people always want to get you to focus on irrelevant things so that, you know, they can get their way. And it comes back to my point again, that don't you think that it's about time perhaps we changed the multi-party narrative? Because look, what do we concern ourselves with? When we wake up in the morning, what do you hear on radio? What do you hear on it's all about politics as opposed to things that can advance, you know, the development that we're looking for. We don't have such conversations. We do not.
Kwame, from 1982 to 1992, we didn't have multi-party. But over 300 factories were closed down. Thousands of people were sacked. There was almost not much in the development of infrastructure. We had to pay for health services. How did they used to call that? We had to cash and carry and all those kind of things. So it is not really multi-partyism or even the constitution.
Okay.
It is the architecture of the state. How fair the state is in enforcing its rules and regulations. Look, if we have all these laws and everything, we talk about corruption and everything. We're talking of judgment debt. We have this law on causing financial loss.
Yeah, it doesn't work.
Why doesn't it work? Because the political class would not make it work. The political class will only make it work if it's against his opponents. But if the bureaucracy, the state architecture was strong enough, it does not matter the political system. I give the example of Italy. Italy is the 6th most industrialized country in the world. On the average, every year and a half, the political party which is ruling, the prime minister, is changed. But they are still moving.
But Prince is saying I should ask you, who owns the architecture?
The architecture should be created by the people, led by the political class. Of course. But the truth of the matter is that we should ensure that the architecture of the state is completely built. Like I've indicated, infrastructure is not only brick and mortar. Infrastructure is the institutions of state. The judiciary, is it fair or partisan? The Public Services Commission, is it fair or partisan? The civil service, is it commission or civil service, whatever it is. Is it fair or not? Are the district assemblies fair or not? Is the health service fair or not? Me and you will go to hospital. If I know the doctor because he was my classmate or I have more money, I'll get better health than you will if you don't know the fellow. If we are going to school, we have said that, oh, SHS is free and everything. But it's only a certain group of people who go to certain types of schools. So as long as there's no fairness in the enforcement of rules and regulation, and as far as the institutions which must ensure that these rules and regulations are enforced, you can go and bring the theocracy of the Bible or the theocracy of the Quran or whatever it is. Nothing will work in this country.
Beautiful. Nothing will work in this country. And let me start with you on the next topic, because I think it's also very crucial. Okay. The Peace Council has been talking. I don't know who gave them that name, the Peace Council. I have my own reservations about them, really. But they are saying that we should accept Supreme Court verdict. Peace Council charges. That's Charles Ghanaians, I beg your pardon. Daily Analyst reported this one. Peace Council is saying that we should accept the court verdict. But the Peace Council was silent when there were some alleged infractions, for instance. People were being brutalized during the process, and they generally did not speak. They were mum. Now they found their voices. They're saying that we should accept the verdict.
To accept the verdict.
That's a very good question.
I read it and I said, who even invited you in this?
Who invited you?
The proceedings is ongoing. The are watching. And
I think you have answered the question.
The court said on the 4th of judgment. So who is going to accept the judgment?
Mujib, you have just answered the question for me.
Yes.
No, sometimes they also bring themselves for people to criticize and insult them.
Yes. I think that.
What is peaceful about this council?
I think that before I go to the issue of even the Peace Council, which I think they largely do not deserve any commendation for that statement, I must say that a nation which does not know the cause of the poverty of its citizens cannot investigate the source of wealth of its people. The nation should be concerned, why are some people absolutely poor, and do something to bring out that level of poverty. So when other people are getting extremely rich, they can equally question why they are doing that. And the other aspect is even the understanding of what constitutes resource. Most of the time, we go to the primary resource of the deposits of the minerals. But in this modern day and age, that is so basic, and that is so cheap, and that is so low. The main resource is the brain, the human beings that we have. And that is where I think that we should be looking at. But on the issue of the so-called Peace Council.
No, they exist.
Don't say it so-called.
No, you see, you so-called.
Me, Kwame.
You can use so-called.
Kwame, my problem is even the timing.
You see, I call them so-called Peace Council because there is nothing that one can say that they've been able to engender peace. And they, with all respect, individually, there might be individual respected people within the council, which is undeniable. But collectively, they are a group of a failed institution. I only see them respond because they have an alliance and a support from UNDP. And for that matter, they are looking out for that kind of donations and support to demonstrate the support which has been given to them by UNDP, that this is the way and manner they've used it. And so they should be seen to be talking. That's what I am seeing them. Otherwise, an institution which is calling itself a peace council should be doing an analysis of the situation across board, such that there will not be any trigger. At times when the issues of triggers are not handled properly, you cannot control the effect of it. And that is exactly what the situation is. The nation has been sitting on a time bomb, not today. And from every indication that I even see the commentary of people and the reactions of even the cause, that at the end of the day, it is the decisions of even our own cause, sadly, that can lead to the generation of insecurity into the future. And that is exactly what the situation is. For example, remember that it started with this, our politics, it started with the issue of the registration, whether or not there should be registration and there should not be any registration. As we speak today, the voters register, the card that has been generated, banks are not accepting it.
Yeah.
The card that has been generated, several institutions which depend on identity is not accepting that.
That's a fact.
The national identification card, several institutions are not accepting that. They rely on the old voter ID card which were actually done under Afajam and Charlotte Osei. That is what they still think is authentic and credible. And the Peace Council saw nothing wrong with it, that there should be dissipation of the country's resources in an adventure which has turned out to be worse than what it was before. And they didn't see anything wrong with that. When the alarm bells continued to actually be rung, people died out of it. There had been several issues which came out of it. It moved into the elections. For the first time, in an election period, you saw the killing of very innocent Ghanaians by state security, and the whole place is silent. Not less than 8 people have been gunned down by state security apparatus, and an institution which calls itself the Peace Council sees nothing wrong with it. It is normal. So the next time there will be elections, the state people will still go. Now, if indeed I was attacked by state security apparatus and nothing has come out of it, when I'm going to the next polling station, what do you think I should do?
You arm yourself.
I will arm myself. And what is the consequence of that? And the worst of it is that when people are aggrieved, they have come to court. The court says that the person who is in custody and who is in charge of the conduct of the election should not say a word whatsoever. So if even I come to court, the Constitution says that if you agree, go to court. And you go to court to not just to get the justice either to rule in your favor or not, but also get a settled mind. And anybody who thinks that this court decision is about John Mahama, the person is not getting the truth. John Mahama is the least beneficiary of this court decision. At the end of the day, the over 6 million people who went and killed, risked their lives, and actually voted for John Mahama are all watching. The over 6 million people who went and killed and voted for Nanado are also watching. At the end of the day, look, do we know ourselves at the basic places? So if questions have been raised and which electoral commission themselves have agreed to some of them, because they said pardon. Electoral commission, through their own words, said that they have agreed to the pardon. And you know the effect of pardon. So if indeed there could be an individual, despite the toll of the whole country, who will sit in Accra and accept some pardon to be a little bit accepted, and some is not accepted, I don't know to what extent. Because if you can change the results over 6 different times, and you cannot come and tell the people of Ghana that this 6 different times, this is the cause for which these results were changed over these 6 different times, and this is the justification for what has been done over these things, and lingering clouds of doubts are still hanging on them in the minds of people, you think the next election will be peaceful? Let me tell you, Ghana is not a saint. The blood in Ghanaians are the same which ran through the Ivorians, and they had a civil war. Remember that there's nothing different between a Kenyan and a Ghanaian. But yet, we pride ourselves, Ghana, we are most peaceful. Remember that we have had our violent times in our history before. So it means that whatever we can do to actually help, it will aid us that much. And the worst of it all is that the judiciary, acting for and on behalf of the Supreme Court and the justices of Ghana, will issue a certain verdict or edict, gagging media men, gagging individuals from commenting on the decisions that they themselves have made. And by making a decision, at the end of the day, it will not. And remember that they only saw those who were criticizing them. They never saw those who are praising them. Because if you look in the media space, there are several people who are also praising them for what they are doing, that they are happy. So to flatter somebody can itself be dangerous. That they are not seeing anything wrong with that. They are only seeing the criticisms. And they think that it is actually the criticism that will undermine the judiciary. No. It is the conduct of the justices and the way and manner decisions are taken that will either enhance the confidence of the people in the cause or undermine the confidence that people have of the cause. Remember that we have a country. There was a point in time in our country that the whole judiciary was bastardized and they used the people's cause. Remember, under the PNDC time, you understand? And a lot of decisions were taken. And they went back to using the community systems of adjudicating their own cases. And people were punished using all manner of things. Now, we are not actually comfortable to mention some of them, but it has happened before. What was the cause? It means that some people's mind in the past thought that the justice delivery system was not giving the goods. It is only people who actually go and wear the wigs and then the coat and the rest and then they talk and all those things. At the end of the day, the true justice is denied. And that is what is given us. I think that the judiciary made a huge mistake. Remember?
You mean the judicial services?
The judicial service. They made a huge mistake in the letter that they actually issued through my lecturer. Tadio, sorry. A very fine man. And he's actually up to his task. He only did what they've asked him to do. Because he's been contracted to do that.
And you'll be paid more.
Obviously.
So
Obviously. But they have a judicial secretary who is a judge.
So because of the scenery motives, you would do anything at all.
It's not motive. That is, you, as a lawyer, you only act on the instructions of your client.
Even
So if your client says do this,
even when the
Mr.
thing is wrong.
Hinepu, if your client says do this, that is what he has done. So he has no problem whatsoever. Possibly personally, when you even ask him, he will not be comfortable with that. But BS's case, that is what he's been contracted to do, and he has dispensed that. But you know the interesting thing.
No, I'll come to you. Yeah, please go ahead.
Do you know the interesting aspect of this? You see, we are invariably entering into a situation whereby people will bottle up their own feelings. Look, a lot of the decisions and the character of us as a country, Ghana, and Ghana has not gotten to the brink of burning, is because people are free to express themselves and let out their pent-up emotions and feelings.
That's true.
When you actually make sure that people bottle their pent-up emotions and feelings, you are invariably creating an explosive bomb which will explode in your face. And the consequences can be dire. So it is better that we allow people to actually release their emotions and pent-up feelings and whatever, than to say that, look, if you make a mistake, I would actually zip you in. And by so doing, well, if indeed I will go out and make a mistake and then you will actually bring me and then punish me, I will not make that statement, but I will actually react because it is an energy. Energy is never destroyed nor created. It only changes into another form. So that pent-up feeling will be converted into another type of energy. Possibly, you will not be happy with the energy that it will generate. And that is when the whole country will be thrown into flames. And you will not be asking, but what caused it? It is some of these little things. I can tell you that when NDC went to court, remember that our demonstrations had gone down. You know, the people were more concerned about demonstrating on the streets. But they were not concerned with the death of the people who, for no other reason, were killed by state actors. People are more comfortable to say that, look, those people who were even killed were criminals. You get somebody who is even a deputy speaker of parliament, who is a member of parliament, who is a lawyer, and he will even give that inkling to extend that those people were criminals. And for that matter, he can come and defend those issues. And Peace Council saw it as normal and natural after it is made from a big man. Look, culture said that share your riches with the poor before they share their poverty with you. By so doing, if we don't respect the right of the ordinary man on the street and give him the needed closure to issues bothering his mind, obviously, the ordinary man will come. And they will come at us heavy and handy. And that day, we will not know who is the Chief Justice, who is the President, who is the Minister, who is a CEO, or who is everything. Because they will definitely go and will not understand whether there's a procedure or there's an evidence act or there is something in your pleadings or not. Their pleadings will be the justice that they perceive, which has been denied. And this is what we should be concerned about. So I think that the Peace Council, in trying to justify their statement, were even making reference to the pact which was allegedly signed by Nana Akufo-Addo of NPP, and then John Mahama of NDC. Because their conception is that because they are the leaders, when they take a decision, it transcends down. There's a day that none of them can control any action of the others when the people feel terribly peeved. And I can tell you, I'm a typical NDC man, a regional secretary. I know the emotions of our people, and I know what people are feeling. And nobody, and I can tell that it will come to a point that John Mahama, no matter what he comes out to say, he might not be able to control the ordinary people. Otherwise, they'll put him aside and go for the killer.
All right, thank you very much, Biawadibi, for that submission. So that's what she said. Now, this country will turn you do me, I do you. Abigail Tego says natural justice. Nelson Dabo says Ghana can only move forward if we draw a long-term development plan by all the political parties and other well-meaning Ghanaians. This long-term development plan should strictly follow it to the latter. Also, we must begin to exchange our resources with the white man's technology rather than taking money from them. Vivian Walali says, please tell the panelists wear their face masks well. Okay, I'll tell them. Sadat Moshu says, thank you, brother. My blood boils when I think about this fraud, and they should be doing something about it. Juliana Belinda Ubri says, posterity will be the judge of them all. Karma is real. KOD, ignore those greedy old men who call themselves Peace Council. They are disgracing the people of Ghana. What did they say when people were shot and killed? Abigail Tego says, essentially, natural justice requires that a person receives a fair and unbiased hearing before a decision is made that will negatively affect them. The three main requirements of natural justice that must be met in every case: adequate notice, fair hearing, and no bias. Well, what you should know is also about predictability and what certainty, right? Those are the two. The Peace Council are up to no good. All right. The Akufo-Addo is dangerous. He's corrupt. He's nepotistic. He's nefarious, vindictive, tribalistic. All the other things that okay, right. Muhammad Abdul. KOD, the so-called people who accept the verdict. Okay, well. Honorable Inus Afuseni jokingly made a comment saying JM swear himself in and run a parallel government and he's being chased here and there. I mean, we want to kill NDC MPs but walking freely. We wait to see from Anafi in Tamale Central Constituency. And he sent that message about 4 times. Hypocrites Council. You say. Now, let me remind you that those of you who are my friends on Facebook can just send me a direct message on Facebook. I'll read it, I promise. Dipku Ishmael has sent an essay from Dipku Ishmael Wild Traffic. It says, share to you all, champion. Ghana can only be rebuilt if we decolonize our minds by to stop and think and behave like the white man. Let's behave as Africans. Have a local official language that should be spoken and written by all Ghanaians. Let's empower our local industries by wearing and eating Ghanaian products and stop eating pizza and wearing suit. Well, the suit I'm wearing was made in Ghana. That's so you know. Champion, we must respect African traditional. Yeah. Because we can't live in a hot environment and wearing suit. We must respect. Well, I'm in an AC. We must respect. We must respect African traditional religion, which can put our leaders on check. Champion, an Asante man, for example, will never steal and swear by or before the Antwa Oracle, but he will do that with ease in court with a Bible. Greetings to Budan's NDC regional chairman. You know, it's so strange, eh? Before the white man came, what were we practicing? Anyway, the president goofed yesterday by commenting on the gory accident that claimed 19 lives and left many critical conditions. Some of them may have voted for him. Very pathetic. Akpaku divine in hope. I think I should also understand the purpose for these addresses. But, Mr. Adeku, Peace Council, what saith thou?
Well, I think that the Peace Council is not doing itself any good in the eyes of the people, because when things happen, they leave it too late to intervene, and when things have not happened, then they anticipate. I mean, what shows that the people of this country will not accept the verdict of the Supreme Court? 2013. Is it 2013?
Yeah, 2012, 2013. Yeah.
2012, 2013. The people accepted it. There was no violence. Although in the beginning, before they went to court, there was some amount of violence. Here too, before they went to court, there was a fair share of demonstrations. But the people didn't do anything. And I don't know who they are speaking to. Are they speaking to the leaders or they are speaking to us? Because I believe that what is happening in the Supreme Court is of interest to the generality of the Ghanaians because, one, we pay for those people who are in the Supreme Court. We have created a system. I mean, they are there as representatives of the sovereign people of Ghana. And so it is up to us to, accept it or not, to see whether what is happening is fair or not. It doesn't lie in the bosom of anybody to come and give us instructions as to how we should perceive or see the verdict. I mean, we are adult enough, we are sensible enough to be able to discern what is happening. There are enough lawyers in this town who know all the techniques and legalities and legalese of what is happening and who are not all of one party, but of different strands and of different parties, and who are able to communicate to what your friend Sori was talking about, uneducated and uninformed Ghanaians. You understand? I mean, for somebody to write such a piece and have such a phrase, and he does it simply because he will be paid for it. So he should do it. And so he should escape blame. That for me is a problem. That for me is a very big problem. Because he insults those who educated him. Those who paid for his education. He was taught in a secondary school. He was taught in a primary school. He was fed. Some farmer cultivated food and he was fed. Then because of the money you are going to get from the judicial service or something, you write something and you identify all those who did this thing for you as uninformed and uneducated. Why? He went to the school on the moon that we didn't attend. No. Yes, I'm 60 years old, so probably he's my mate. I'm as educated as he is. Went to some of the best schools in this country. So how does he come and tell me that I'm uneducated and uninformed? So the press must shut up. They should zip their mouth. They shouldn't talk about what is happening because some representatives of God have been constituted to give us, to adjudicate on issues for us. It's not fair. You see, apart from not doing the right things, the political class, they insult us and they are condescending towards us, the people of this country. And that is what is going to bring about the problem. Because, yes, the guy is poor, he's thinking about his low standard of living, then you come and add salt to injury by insulting him on top, humiliating him and making him feel that he's nothing. He would then demand respect. And in demanding respect, he could use violence, which is legitimate. Because in South Africa, when they had apartheid, it was legitimate to use violence to overthrow that apartheid law and that apartheid constitution. A constitution is worth its value if it expresses the will of the people and it is for the people. Laws do not hang in the air. Laws are made by people within the socio-economic context. So if you go and make a Nazi law or a colonial law, who says that people can't fight against it? People can fight against it. So, I don't know. I think that the Peace Council and the former Chief Justice could keep their counsel to themselves. I believe that the people of this country would not destroy their country by going to war because the political class is squabbling among themselves as to who should rule. At the right time, when they have to remove, they will remove. We don't need anybody's counsel to come and tell us. And we certainly didn't need a sorry's letter from the Jew. Look, these judges are unelected. They don't represent me because I didn't take part in electing them. At least I took part in electing or not electing Akufo-Addo. When I criticize Akufo-Addo or I insult him, nobody comes to arrest me. I took part in electing or not electing parliamentarians. They don't come and catch me and tell me that I should zip my mouth, I shouldn't criticize them. So why should unelected group of people, judges, simply because they have learned law, come and tell us all that we can't comment on their actions or inactions or on what they are doing, which is for and on behalf of the state? We criticize bureaucrats, we criticize civil servants and public servants and managing directors. What's the difference between the Supreme Court judge and the managing director of state transport? And they are all appointees of the state. So upon what basis am I told that their actions or inactions can't be commented upon? That's wrong. I mean, if you want to turn the whole thing upside down, use the Constitution as a facade and enforce certain rules and regulations and everything, all that you are doing is that you are creating the basis and cause for something otherwise, something which would not be good for us, all of us. And I think that it's high time the political class stops that.
Thank you. Right. Mujib, let's hear from you, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I think,
they found a nice way of boxing the judicial service and then the peace council.
Right.
I love that.
We've been following the proceedings in the petition filed by the leader of the National Democratic Congress. But Kwame, you see, every stage and every stage, whatever the court has done, they have explained their position and the ruling to the people of this country. So I think that looking at the atmosphere now and looking at the environment, I don't anticipate any noise after the final judgment on the 4th. So I think that, but people want to take opportunity of what to happen to just try to be more heard or more seen, in other words, more relevant. I think that that is where the peace council is coming. As we are condemning them for this particular statement that they have issued, but in the past, they have also played roles collectively. But individually, they are men of honor, they are prominent people doing their own individual. But collectively, I think that if they had kept quiet, that would have even earned them more much honor than coming. Because looking at the atmosphere, I don't believe that on the 4th after the Supreme Court has passed, no matter which way, because as we sit now, nobody knows how the judgment is going to be. And even in delivering the judgment, there will be, the laws will be quoted, the decisions as everything will be there, why it is A and it will not be B. All these things are things that it is our duty. But fundamentally, I think that, look, Article 1 of the Constitution, you see, we have to educate the people. We are the power. Yeah. You are in there dispensing justice on and on behalf of the people of Ghana.
Yeah. Power emanates from the people.
All emanates from the people.
Yeah, there's so many the
people. So, and even in certain instances, so what about if people criticize pastors, men of God, people criticize prophets, you are not above criticisms. People can constructively criticize your work. But even in the legal fraternity, people criticize judgments.
Really,
I have had to read,
it's popular
for the wrong reason. And it has been criticized. Even today, lawyers are still saying that because of the circumstances at that time. Why do they refer to the judges at that time as timorous souls?
Yeah.
That is it. Is that not?
That was a unanimous decision.
Yeah, it was
by the Supreme Court. You read Akoto. You know, sir. They are not celebrating the submission of the defense attorney.
Yes.
And then bastardizing the decision of the Supreme Court. And that was a unanimous decision.
Yes.
And every year law school,
when in commercial law, there was a decision, and Professor Milne so wrote and criticized the judgment, the decision of the court. So I don't see why this time it must be different. It mustn't be different. People definitely, if we can criticize the president, who hold the executive power, we can criticize the legislature. And we can as well constructively criticize the judiciary. What exalts them from criticism? But I think that, Kwame, to GAC, we have come a long way. The history of this country, especially media freedom and freedom of speech. It is something that we have to constantly guard and make sure that any attempt to take that away from the people of Ghana, we should be resisted, and it should be resisted.
That's a very interesting.
It's very, very important.
That's a very interesting dimension to the conversation.
Yeah, but we need to keep educating.
Yeah. No, because
the first topic, help rebuilding Ghana. We can rebuild your country when you are quiet.
Yeah, but
things are not going. You can't criticize.
With the grace of respect, the danger in this particular session.
Yes.
Is the continuous attempt to always divide ourselves on political lines.
Yes.
So that, if it's good for the MPP, they will keep quiet.
Yeah.
If it is bad for them, they will speak about it. But in conversations of national interest, we must all be united, have one united front to deal with that situation.
It's very, very important. But that is, I said it earlier.
And I know that you're going to take offense probably about what I'm going to say. But when your party assumed the reins of power, for instance, they closed radio stations, voices of dissent, people being murdered, etc.
You are lumping a lot of things together. You want to take the shine out of this.
I am not. I'm just drawing your attention to some of the problems. That's the reality.
I will agree with him because the laws. No, I'm coming to say.
Tesla said that she didn't close the radio.
Yeah, she said that.
No, it's the bureaucracy.
That is the pretense.
At the communication. Hold on. At the communications ministry.
No,
please do that.
The National Communication Authority.
The issue is the pretense. You see, you know why any coup will not be easy to stage in Ghana now?
Why?
Because there have been proliferation of the media.
Need it.
You understand? Please, let me say.
Understand.
There's a proliferation of the media. That no coup maker can decide to go all out and close all other media outlets that they can actually give something. No, it's not going to be easy. You understand? At the end of the day, the time that we only had one media station, and you need to just go take charge of parliament, take charge of the presidency, and go and announce that you have taken over, and almost everybody will now surrender.
Yeah.
But now,
let me get to conclude.
It's not easy.
Would you conclude for me?
Yeah. So Kwame, I think that is the issue. So it's part of our fundamental human rights. People must vent and talk about what is happening in the country. It is even when you are not criticized, you don't even give out your best. It is you yourself. You are a human being. After whatever, you go to sit down and reflect on your own actions. I hope you are getting the argument. But the laws are there. Maybe where you can cross the red light, as which they term as contempt of court. It is there, and the people are aware. That doesn't take out the fact that people cannot criticize your job. So I think that is not in the best interest of the country, as regards to freedom of speech and etc. So I think that right from 3 days now, the public condemnation about that, I think that by now maybe they will be reflecting on it and just realize that no, it was not proper for them to have instructed their lawyer to issue that statement on.
But do you know Professor Lemoatuba? When he made a comment, he and then the former Larabimi and the rest, when they made a comment of corruption in the judiciary, they came and even banned them from practicing in their cause.
Yeah.
But what happened? Anas came and proved that. So at times when they feel that they themselves are doing the wrong thing and they know that the wrong is being done, they try to cover up in one way or the other. But it can't go far.
The judges are human beings. We live with them. They are our fathers, they are our uncles, they are our friends.
Is there an addition of that fact from their end? Because I mean,
no, but they don't need to. But that doesn't mean that we don't also have a proposal about them.
Mr. Eneku, finally, I mean, my time is up. I want to bring to the attention of the very many Ghanaians who are watching us this morning that tomorrow there's going to be an exclusive interview with people call him the Law, Chachu Chikata, live on Pan-African television at 7:30 p.m. exactly with KSM. It's going to be a very wonderful interview. You wanna watch that particular interview tomorrow, 7:30 p.m. I'm trying to find out if it is possible to connect with KSM to at least glean from him what to expect tomorrow. But whilst we are I just want to take final comments from Mr. Eneku. We've listened to all the things that we've spoken about this morning: how to rebuild Ghana, the issue about the the judicial services, and as he describes them, so-called peace councils. I don't think they are useful. I mean, because what peace have they brought to this country?
I believe their usefulness.
At best, what they know how to do is to sit around some table and drink some tea. And
you might not know all. Sometimes they do a lot behind the scenes.
You see, the point is that they say that actions have the loudest voice, right? If, for instance, the murder of these wonderful people who were only exercising their right were condemned by these people, then we could say, oh, okay, that's...
Yeah, I believe so. Well, I would like to believe that there's the need for us to go back and ensure that we can rethink and start the process of attitudinal change towards how our country should be reconstructed. The fact of the matter is that our bourgeoisie, our ruling class, are they nationalistic? I mean, let's be very frank. A British bourgeois or an American billionaire would like to go to hospital in the United States of America or Great Britain. They would like their children to attend eating in the United Kingdom because they've invested in it and made sure that it's at the top. You understand? They would like to drive vehicles made in the US and made in Great Britain. You understand? I mean, when you look at the bourgeoisie or the ruling class in all countries, in Southeast Asia and all those kind of, there's a certain attitude of nationalism in them, which is almost absent amongst ours. So, for example, the food of politics. We were told that, by 1966, there was queues for food. So I asked myself, were they queuing for cassava? Were they queuing for gari? Were they queuing for millet? No, but they were queuing for milk, which is not natural to us, or for ham, or for corned beef.
Yeah.
And even corned beef, although we're producing some in Bolkatanga, they prefer the Exeter one.
Yeah.
So, with this kind of consciousness, how will you not import almost everything and give out everything? And you see, this thing is part of the consumerism which was brought to us 400 years ago and has been part of our history. Because the question is that, we sold a lot of human beings with intellectual and physical capacity. What did we get in return? And what we got in return, what did we use it for? We are now selling a lot of gold and oil and manganese and whatever it is. What do we get in return? Mercedes-Benz, payment to go on holidays in Davos, in the Switzerland, or to go for healthcare, or to go to the spas in Central Europe or something. So whatever we get in return for the resources that we take out, we have not learned to use that to reproduce wealth within our country.
Beautiful. Thank you. Biawarube, finally, from the three topics, two boxed together, one distinct one.
Yes. I think that the need for reorienting ourselves is very key. And to do that, we must get our education right. Getting our education right is not by speaking the Queen's language with the accent of the Queen. Getting our education right is not the certificates that we hold, the PhDs, the masters, and the rest, but bringing ourselves to understand our environment properly and to understand the challenges of our environment and to get the indigenous knowledge that is available to our own people, and through that we develop and improve on it. Anything short of that, whatever theory of development that we are bringing, which has not got the buy-in and the people cannot relate to them, obviously you will have that kind of mismatch. This can be done if and only if we have that national commitment to do it. We must inject in our system meritocracy. You don't need the constitution to be changed to inject that meritocracy. Thankfully, we have got Nana Akufo-Addo, who is now the president, and by 4th of this month, we may be asked to go for a rerun and for John Mahama to come.
That's your
whichever the outcome would be, there will definitely be a president of Ghana who must inject that element of meritocracy. Injecting that element of meritocracy means that you scout for the best of human resource with the necessary commitment, who can drive the force in the various institutions that you are going to establish, and make sure that those people get in there and they drive it to its logical conclusion.
Absolutely.
This is what we need.
Thank you.
You don't need
Time up.
appointments of only ministers from your party or CEOs from your party. Any other person, insofar as the person is a citizen of Ghana or is willing to work for the people of Ghana. Remember that some time past in our system we had an Attorney General who was not a Ghanaian but was very effective in the decisions and handling the Attorney General's department. We can do that across board and get the results for the people of Ghana.
Mujib.
Yeah, Kwame.
Yes, sir.
I think there's hope with the consciousness and commitment, and I think that we can actually rebuild our country, Ghana, so that it will be a better place for us and the next generation. So let's keep educating. Let's start talking about it. Let's start giving ourselves hope that yes, we might have failed in one area or the other, but collectively we can still secure our future. It is very, very important. But Kwame, I just want to also remind and tell my people that on the 4th of this month, the Supreme Court, the Apex Court, is going to put finality to the matter in respect of the election petition, and people is entitled to their opinion to predict, maybe postulate how the judgment is going to be, whichever way it is, but Ghana first. And Kwame, and I think that it will come and pass and we'll still have a peace of mind and everything will still be intact. After all, elections are held and it's like a football, it's like a game, one win, one lose. And when you don't win today, maybe you come tomorrow, your lucky might shine. But the country must be intact. So that when you don't get it today, you get tomorrow, but you should still have the opportunity to put your ideas and lift the living standard of the people of Ghana. So we shouldn't be fighting, my brother. But
and the referee should not be number 4. Interesting one. Thank you very much, Mujib. Thank you very much, Biawarube. Thank you, Mr. Justice Heneku. Now, let me remind the viewers that if you want to follow me, I'm on Instagram, I'm on Twitter, and I'm on Facebook as well as Clubhouse, Kwame Usuda. So connect with me on all those platforms. Let's extend, or if you will, expand the conversation. It's all about Ghana. We need to make sure that we rebuild Ghana. Ghana is under reconstruction, in my opinion, in my harmless opinion. Ghana is under construction, and all of us must ensure that we bring our toolkits together so we can rebuild our dear nation, Ghana. It's important that you do so. Now, let me extend a big felicitation to one of my very good friends who's watching us this morning. He's the CEO of Ridge Royal Hotel. It's the best hotel in Ghana, trust me. I mean, if you want to just take a vacation, and I think that Mujib should do that. In fact, Mr. Eneku needs it too. You know, it's in the heart of Cape Coast. And, you know, surrounded by a serene lake of tranquility. When you go there, you can actually think, rethink, and deeply think about our dear nation Ghana. So just go there, just catch, you know, the breeze from the sea and from the trees, and listen to the birds chirp in the morning when you wake up. You know, you'll be served a very beautiful hot coffee. Oof. Absolutely amazing, right? And also a special good morning to you, the CEO of RMP Oil, Mr. Raj. You're doing the washing this morning. Thank you very much. And thank you to all the many Ghanaians who watched us today. I'm super grateful that you joined us this morning. My name remains Kwame Owusu. So thanks a lot. God bless you. God bless me. God bless our homeland Ghana. And make us great and strong. Bye-bye.
My name is Samuel Obriadriama, Ridge Royal Hotel Cape Coast General Manager. We are ready, waiting for you to come and use our facility again after closing the hotel for 3 months. We closed because we wanted to have